Did you know 1 in 5 startups will fail in the first year? And eventually 90% will fail within the first 5 years. That means they close shop and walk away forever. Failed project. But why? It's not for the reasons that you might think. Let's explore why. And some people might say, "Oh, it's because nobody liked their product," but usually it's not that. It's something deeper. I've worked with a lot of startups over the years, and I've seen some mistakes come up time and time over again. And you'd be shocked at how sometimes things are just obvious, but they happen time and time again. And that goes to my first reason, which is idea validation. So many people just skip validating their ideas and go straight into building mode. Let me start building. Well, let me ask you something. What's the most important thing when you have an idea? Is it A, to start writing code, B, start building a prototype, or C, talking to people that you think might buy the product? Now, the answer seems pretty simple when I lay it out that way. But a lot of people immediately start putting their heads down and writing, prototyping, planning, trying to build something without even validating the problem. So you're already solutioning, you're trying to build something, but you're not clear on what problem you're trying to solve. Right? I remember mentoring a startup that spent $97,000 on developers, designers, building an app without having ever even spoken to an actual user that would be like, "Hey, would you pay $20 a month for this app?" Never having had that conversation, right? So there's a clear misfit in that app. Surprise, surprise, eventually failed, right? He never put any sort of early version in front of a customer, did not even talk to customers, just validated internally with his team, along with a few people. And then you have like this very containerized small version, a small feedback loop where the actual customer who you want eventually paying for the product is never involved. And by the time they are involved, it's too late, right? The last thing you want to hear from a customer is, "Wow, really cool product. I really like the idea. Now I'm going to go back to whatever I was doing before this." Right? That's just such a nail. That's just such a nail in the coffin of like, "Oh, I've built the wrong thing." Because this person does not care about it. They don't want to give me money for it. Well, actually, even beyond the money, they just don't care about it. So there's no way they give me money for it. So a rule I have is talk to at least 100 people within that industry that you think might be experiencing that pain point before you even start building anything at all. That's a simple rule. You can do it yourself. You don't need a team, don't need a UX researcher. Go out there, right? If you need to cold call, if you need to email, if you need to tap into your network, do what you need to do to get into a room with at least 100 people, right? Some people say 1,000 conversations is the rule, which I think is a little extreme, but 100 is the minimum that I think any founder should do if you're serious about building your idea, right? And why so many, right? Why 100? Why not just 5 or 10? It's because by the time you get to conversation number 20, number 40, you'll start developing a pattern. You'll start immediately automatically empathizing with the user. You'll start understanding, you'll start breathing like them. You now know suddenly what the customer wants when they get out of bed. Do they go for an orange juice or do they go drink coffee, right? You now know if the customer goes goes jogging after work, or are they usually like the type of person to be up at 3 a.m., go for a jog, and then start their day. Like, you become the customer, and that's the best way to solve for them. So reason number 2 is a bit more sneakier, which is entrepreneurs trying to do everything themselves, right? And I do think you should be leading sales early on in your startup. You should be leading product discovery. You should be leading user research, but you cannot do everything yourself. You should be focusing on the strategy, on the bigger picture. But no matter how good you are, you cannot excel at coding, marketing, design. You will need help at some point, and it's important to recognize that, right? Don't get lost in the code. Hire people to help you out there. Don't get lost in the designs. Hire people to help you out there. In finances, right? Don't get lost in repeatable tasks, right? If there's, let's say, you're cold calling people or you're generating leads, um, there's a lot of resources out there. There's Upwork, there's Fiverr, where you can hire people part-time, right? Virtual assistants. You don't even need to be in the same office, and you can start utilizing them for your work. And trust me, you will drown as an entrepreneur if you don't recognize when you need to delegate, right? Because your brain is the most important as the CEO, as the entrepreneur, should be used for strategy, should be used to figure out what the next step is. should not be used to go down into the weeds and trying to debug code or trying to fix a little design mistake. That's not your job, right? Right. And you already, as an entrepreneur, are not living a 9 to 5 life. Oh, by the way, I should emphasize this: most entrepreneurs will not be living a 9 to 5 life. It's perfectly okay to want a 9 to 5 life, like a balanced life. It's also perfectly okay to build a multi-billion-dollar startup, but you will not have both. I've never seen a case where both exist with each other. That's just how the game of entrepreneurship works. And therefore, delegation becomes even more important when you're working 18-hour days, 12-hour days, 15-hour days. Take Slack's founder, for example, Stuart Butterfield. He trusted his team to create a communication tool that was initially to be used internally, and then went across and became a billion-dollar company. There was a lot of delegation involved there. And I won't go into the whole story here, but feel free to look it up yourself. And reason number three, and I think this is also very important, is ignoring cash flow, right? When you have a little bit of a team going, you have some sort of traction with your idea, cash flow becomes critical. You want to be making sure that people you're employed are being paid regularly. And keep in mind, cash flow is not to be confused with profitability. These are two very different things. Uber claimed to not be profitable until the year 2020, but you can bet there was a lot of cash flow going in and out of the business, which is also surprising. Like Uber not being profitable, that's a whole other story, but officially they weren't profitable until 2020. So cash flow is more important, right? You know, a lot of startups don't die from a lack of profit; they die from a lack of cash, right? And that's why an important metric for a lot of startups is the burn rate, which is how much cash you're burning. If you have $1 million in cash and you're spending $100,000 a month, your burn rate is 10 months. You have 10 months until you die and bleed out, and that's it. So it's important to track that, right? Especially if you're paying for advertising, you're paying for employees, other expenses, and there's not a lot of money coming in, especially in the early days, right? And this brings me back to my point where the founder-led sales is crucial if that's your vibe, or founder-led marketing or founder-led initiatives as much as possible, especially with regards to strategy. So those are three ideas I think why startups fail a lot. If you have ideas, please feel free to share. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe if this was useful at all. If not, that's fine. If you hate me, no problem.